Hello, my name is Brad Hughes, and I will be the advisor on your 401k plan. If we think about reasons why you should consider joining the Right at Home 401k plan, the process is easy. Once you enroll, contributions go in with each and every pay period. There are some income tax benefits built into 401k plans. Any growth within the plan grows compounded. You can access your funds through loans should you need to. And then, most importantly, Social Security alone will not be enough for most people to retire on. If we look at Social Security, in most cases, it replaces about 27% of your income today in retirement. The remainder of that would have to come from things such as pensions, retirement savings, maybe part-time work, whatever it may be. If we think about the retirement savings portion of that, a 401k is probably the easiest way to save for retirement. Again, contributions go in with each and every pay period. If you have a long enough time between now and retirement, it's a great way to save and accumulate a fair amount towards retirement on your behalf. If we think about current financial stresses, 2/3 of people are struggling with household expenses. More than a half have had to postpone retirement. And right now, 1 in 4 have less than $1,000 saved for retirement. So hopefully having access to a plan such as this reduces that financial stress for you and gives you a vehicle where you can save for retirement and feel better about your financial future. Eligibility, once you're employed with the Right at Home for at least 6 months and work 500 hours in that 6 month time period, and you're at least 18 years of age, you have the ability to enter into the plan. Uh, if you choose to enroll, your contributions start the month after you enroll. So as an example, if you were to enroll in February, your contributions then would start with the first pay period in March. Once you go to enroll, you have 4 decisions to make. That first is how much you wish to contribute. It can either be a percentage of pay, which is calculated off of gross pay, not take-home pay, or a flat dollar amount per pay period. You'll make a decision between pre-tax and Roth after-tax contributions. We'll talk about the difference on the next slide. You will make an investment selection, and just like life insurance, you'll name a beneficiary, so who you want the balance to go to should you pass away. We think about the difference between pre-tax and Roth. Pre-tax contributions, anything you put in reduces your income today, but it's taxable when you take it out. So as an example, if your W-2 normally reads 50,000, you put in $2,000 throughout the course of the year, it's going to look like to the IRS that you only made 48,000. So because you received that income tax deduction today, what you've put in plus the growth is taxable when you go to take it out or take a withdrawal. As long as that withdrawal is after age 59 and a half, it's whatever your income tax bracket is at that time. If you're taking a withdrawal before age 59 and a half, it's your income tax bracket plus an additional 10% IRS penalty. Pre-tax tends to make the most sense if you are closer to retirement. So I would say 10 years or less from retirement, or if you are not receiving a refund if you're owing the IRS each year when you file your taxes. That's when you would want to consider pre-tax contributions. Roth after tax tends to make the most sense if you're more than 10 years from retirement and you're receiving a refund when you file your taxes each year. And as far as how it operates, it looks very essentially the opposite of pre-tax. That same 50,000 on your W-2, you contribute 2,000, you actually pay tax on the full 50,000 today. But when you go to take withdrawals in retirement, everything you put in plus the growth, you're able to take out income tax free as long as it's after that age 59 and a half. We think about the compounding growth, tax deferred growth benefit inside of a 401k plan. The chart here looks at 2 different scenarios, both investing $150 per month, growing at 8% over a 30-year time period. The bottom, the light blue, the bottom figure there is inside of a taxable account. So each year there's interest and dividends that are generated. It assumes that any tax due for those interest and dividends is being paid out of the account. So your 150 a month over 30 years turns into approximately 145,000. The darker blue at the top is inside of a 401k plan. Those same dividends and interest are generated, but instead of you having to pay tax on them, they're reinvested. They buy more shares for you. And that's the compounded portion of this. Because as you buy more shares, you can see the longer you're in the plan, the greater that difference is between the taxable account and the tax deferred account. If you were making pre-tax contributions and you get to the end of that 30-year period and your balance were 225,000, anything that you withdraw at that point would be taxable to you. So more times than not, people withdraw at small portions at a time, 10, 15, $20,000 as opposed to all of it. If you were making Roth contributions, all of that 225,000 would be income tax free to you as long as you were past that age 59 and a half. If we think about the investment selection, there are 4 different ways to invest in the plan. The first is Transamerica Stable Value. It's a fixed account. It earns about 2% per year, so it cannot lose money. But if the younger you are, the less sense this probably makes in your plan. If you want some portion of your account balance that is not tied to stocks or bonds and would not fluctuate, this would be the investment option to select. The default in the plan are target date funds. They are tied to your date of birth. It assumes that you retire at age 65. So as an example, if you were born in 1990, you would be placed in the 2055 fund in that example. They are age-based. They're more aggressive when you're younger. They get more conservative as you get closer to retirement. And on the next slide, we'll actually look at how those are built and constructed. There are balanced funds from Vanguard and American funds. These are a combination of stock and bond as well, but they do not change over time. And then beyond that, there's 19 additional mutual funds if you wanted to build something for yourself. When we think about the target date funds that are the default in the plan, they are offered through BlackRock. They are a combination of stock and bonds. So in the what you see there on the right, the blue is the stock exposure, the green is a combination of bonds in that stable value fixed account. From age 35 and younger, it's essentially all stock, no bond. And then from 35 to 65, it reduces that stock exposure each and every year by about 2% per year. So it's getting more conservative as you're getting closer to retirement. So that if we did have a pullback in stocks or a down year in stocks and you're closer to retirement, you are less impacted by that. We think about the difference between stocks and bonds. Stocks are positive 7.5 out of every 10 years, which means they would be negative or could be negative 2.5 out of every 10 or 25% of the time. A good year for stocks, you could earn 20%. A bad year, you could lose 20%. And then a long-term average is to earn about 8% over time. Bonds are much more conservative, so they have less upside and less downside potential. Bonds are positive 8.5 out of every 10 years. A good year for bonds, you could earn 5%. A bad year, you could lose 4%. And a long-term average is 3 to 4% over time. If we think about beneficiary designation, so this is the final decision that you'll make when you go through the enrollment process. If you're married, it should be your spouse. If you're not, you can name anybody that you choose to. And I do try to get people to avoid naming minor children. If you did name a minor child and you passed away and they were still under the age of 18, more times than not, courts will step in, decide how the money gets invested on their behalf, how it gets spent. And then if there's anything left over at 18, they normally receive that lump sum. So usually that's not what you would want to have happen. So if you are naming wanted to name a minor child, I would actually recommend naming who you would have as their guardian as opposed to the child. Once they reach age of 18, you're more than able to change it to them if that's what you choose. And last, we'll talk about how you can access your account while still working. You have a couple options. The first is a loan. Once you have $2,000 in your account, you can borrow up to half of that. So the minimum loan is $1,000, maximum loan is $50,000, and you can borrow half of your account balance. You are borrowing your own money. You're paying the interest back to yourself. Those loan prepayments happen automatically through payroll. It does have an interest rate attached to it. It's 1% over prime. So right now that interest rate is 9.5%. And one of the negatives to a 401k loan is the amount that you borrow no longer has the ability to grow for you. So if you had 10,000 in your account, you borrowed 5,000, you'd only have 5,000 that were still invested and had the ability to grow for you. Loans can be paid back over as many as 5 years. Unless it is for your primary residence, then it can extend all the way to 15 years. And I also let people know that if you had an outstanding loan and you were to leave the employer, it does have to be paid back in somewhere in that 30 to 90 day time frame, or it becomes a distribution and it's taxable to you. And if you're under age 59.5, the 10% penalty applies as well. Another option as far as withdrawing funds from your account while still working, you can do a hardship withdrawal. All of these do require proof before the money can come out of your account, and some of them are taxable. Loans tend to be the preferred method because it's not a taxable event unless you miss payments or leave the employer, something of that nature. So it just tends to be a better income tax situation. And then lastly, if you have a prior 401k plan and you want to roll that over, either I can help you with that or Transamerica can. So thank you for taking the time to learn about your plan. If you have any questions, you have my contact information. Thank you very much.